We are on. And welcome to Exhibit A. Today, I have two of my favorite senior law clerks with us today. And I might say our only senior law clerks today. We have Mane and Brooke. How are you, ladies?
Great.
Well, the audience ought to know that Mane and Brooke are senior law clerks because they have been with us for a long time. They came in while they were attending law school. They left and they did something kind of weird. They went and took the bar.
Very
But they
weird.
came back. Thank goodness they came back. And you're here, right? And so today's topic is something that I think that our audience is just going to love. For those non-lawyers, because they just got to know about this experience, all the experiences you've been going through. But primarily the topic today is waiting for bar results, the horrific experience. Ooh.
So bad.
People can't know what that feels like. I mean, it is one of the worst things I've ever felt in life.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's worse than studying for the bar itself.
That's what I've been telling people.
You're wading into this abyss of pending results and you don't know what's going to happen with your life.
At least
Yeah.
when you're studying, you're doing something proactive
true.
and learning.
And everyone's kind of around you.
Right.
Kind of, you haven't done it yet, so you don't know.
Yeah, you know, and then you come back to this happy environment, and everybody's got a nice little smile on their face, and they're
It's
eating,
much
and they're
better.
talking about what they're doing, and you're just in the back of your mind going, "Oh, I don't want to do that again."
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah. Well, don't worry about it. You're not the first. You won't be the last in this law firm that's gone through this experience. We've catered and taken care of a lot of people along this process. So one of the things that I wanted to do is start off with your backgrounds. Just so the audience knows is that Mane, you grew up locally, didn't you?
Well, my family moved to LA from Armenia when I was 7. And then I grew up.
Come on.
I grew up in LA after that. So I call myself an LA native.
Okay. So from year 1 to 7, you were in Armenia. Okay. So after you came from Armenia, you landed in Glendale with your family, or?
Yeah, we were in North Hollywood and we moved to Glendale. So Glendale, Pasadena has been my home forever.
Okay. Okay. And your undergraduate was at UCLA,
Yep.
and then your law school is USC.
Yep.
Little traitor.
Yeah, I am. Oops.
Actually, it's very impressive. I mean, just to get into UCLA is really, really difficult. I mean, that's hard. But then to get into SC Law School, very, very impressive. I know that besides clerking for us, as you have, you clerk for the Honorable Judge Pellman, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And, you and Brooke happen to be friends.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that a little bit, too. So, Brooke, let's talk about you. You grew up locally as well.
Yes, my high school's, I think, 5 blocks from the office, actually. Crazy.
I couldn't believe that when you came in and interviewed for the first time. You're the first person here that's ever gone to that school.
Oh, really?
Say the school.
Poly.
And it's an incredibly great school.
We were rivals then in high school.
Where did you go?
Grant.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh my gosh!
Our history goes so far back.
We've been rivals.
So how were your rivals? I don't.
Grant would our football games were always against Polly. So when we did like the little rallies, they were always like beat Polly, and there was like a little parrot running around, and people would tackle the parrot.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry about that.
Parrot? Excuse me?
Yeah, what is the parrot?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Because we're the Panthers.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. And what was your mascot, by the way?
We were the Lancers. I don't know what that is, but we were. It was a guy with an orange mohawk on a horse. That's all I remember.
That's not a Lancer that I know of. I don't know. Okay. And so, Brooke, you undergrad was also SC. So,
Yes.
So where did you say this? You're a
Double Trojan.
double Trojan, and you're
I'm a Brojan.
a Brojan. Okay. But it hasn't hurt your friendship. Actually, you could. That's pretty cool to have both of them. If you go to the football games,
I'm always winning.
do you ever go to them?
I've actually never been to a tailgate or to a football game.
I know, we need to change that.
It's kind of embarrassing.
Brooke she likes sports.
She loves sports. She knows everything about
No,
sports.
not anymore. I feel like
No, she's always watching some football game. I can't even keep up.
But you not.
No, and it's actually really terrible because a lot of attorneys, you meet them and the first thing they ask you is USC football. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, that totally happened last weekend, I think.
Of course.
I know.
Course.
You enjoyed the opera, right?
Yeah. No.
Okay. All right. Okay. So how did you guys become friends, by the way?
Well, we were in the same section in law school, so we knew each other. And then it was actually, I think we really became close when we started working here.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit before, because we knew we were both going to work here, so we kind of met up and talked about it. And I remember actually after I interviewed and I came to Mane, I was like, I think it went well, and we can work together.
Yeah, I was really excited.
So, and then it just blossomed from there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, you didn't clerk for Judge Pellman at the same time, did you?
No, so we switched. So when I was here during the school year, she was with Judge Pellman, and then we reversed.
We switched our fall semesters.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. So let me ask you this one at a time. First with Mane, why did you choose family law?
When I first was interested in law, I went to extern at the Self-Help Center in Pasadena over at Walnut, the Pasadena courthouse, and they dealt a lot with family law, and you were just dealing with self-represented litigants. So they would come to you and talk about their case, and you had to fill out their paperwork. And that's kind of where I really fell in love with the practice of law, and I really liked family law. You were dealing with people, you were helping people. It was
Did you
really
do that while you were
rewarding.
in school?
I did that in undergrad.
Oh, I didn't think so. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I knew about that. So that's pretty cool. All right. And then, and so from that point on, did you kind of know that it's what you wanted to do?
I knew in law school, I kind of bounced around different externships. Before I landed here, I was with the bankruptcy judge, and then I was at the U.S. Attorney's Office for a semester in their criminal department. And then I just came back to family law. Kind of did a little bit of everything.
So what is it about family law that tugs at you?
It's just, it's human. You don't forget that there's a human on the other end. You have to provide. You have to give it all you got. And it just, I don't know, you go home feeling like there's a reward factor to it that I think maybe in other fields you don't necessarily get all the time.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, Brooke, what about you? When did you determine that you wanted to be a family law attorney?
Well, I actually bounced around a little bit too, but I worked after my first year at the Veterans Legal Clinic, and they have a family law clinic.
Where is that?
It's in Santa Ana.
And I don't know about that. I was a Santa Ana cop. We're in Santa Ana.
It's on Broadway. Gosh, I should know. Broadway and
near the downtown area.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and closer to the mall.
Oh, it's North Santa Ana then. Okay.
So I was the lead intern for the first week when we had a family law clinic. So I kind of got roped into being in charge, quote unquote. And I just loved it. And I knew when I went to law school, I wanted to do something important. And it felt very important, sort of like what Mane's saying. There's a human, you are doing something very impactful. And I don't think you find that everywhere. And so I think I fell in love with it then. I tried out the DA's office, which was really interesting work. But
where did you do that?
In downtown. I was in the preliminary hearings department, which was excellent because you actually got to do hearings. I was a certified clerk, and I enjoyed it a lot. The work was spectacular, but I felt like I could make a bigger difference, I think, in family law.
That's pretty cool. I always find it interesting that young people would want to get into family law. Not that you're wrong, because I think you chose the right professions, and I know that you both really like what you do, but not having gone through a divorce or anything like that, it's interesting that you want to help people with the turmoil that you see folks going through. So just out of curiosity, what do you think that your strongest traits are as an attorney?
Oh, well, we're not there yet.
Well, okay.
No,
okay.
I'm just kidding.
I have complete confidence in both of you, by the way. What do you think?
I think my research skills are pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're an excellent researcher.
Yeah, I think my research, and I think I'm very detail oriented, a little bit kind of OCD about it. So I'm actually
I love it. Keep the OCD coming, man.
I'm prepping Casey right now for a trial. And I just got the text, and I'm like, at this time he said this, and then somebody said that. Well, what is that all about? And I have there's just papers all over my desk with Post-its everywhere. So I think it's detail oriented and the research.
That's interesting you say that. I had a friend over in the Orange County DA's office. After we had moved up, our class had moved through the misdemeanors and through the felony panel, and now we're into what they call the vertical units. It was senior trial attorneys, and she came up to me and she said, "You know that we're all crazy, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I guess this is the only place I could say that I feel comfortable about. So it's okay to be OCD as an attorney. So Brooke, what is your strongest point?
I think I'm good with clients. I can be very empathetic, and I think that comes in handy. I wish I were a little bit better at researching like Mane. I run to Mane for help, but I think that's where I excel, is making a client feel heard and important and that they know that I understand that this is a traumatic experience and that we're, the whole firm's here for them. I'm there for them. So it's not as lawyerly, but I think it is my strongest.
No, actually it is.
suit.
It's very important.
It's like 90% of this job.
What was your undergraduate degree in?
Business, but I minored in my dad really wanted me to do business like he did, so I did, but I got my my kicks in I was an ethics minor. So I loved that. That was my favorite.
Interesting. Now, the business does not surprise me because the thing that struck me about you is that Brooke was with us for 4 hours. And I said, I just got this new file. I need to know what it's all about. We're the second attorney in line. I gave her a box. And I'm not kidding you. Within an hour or so, she came back and she understood the property stuff. And I'm like, whoa, wait. That would have taken me like 2 days to do that. So you have a knack for... I don't know if you're a great reader or what it is.
I'm a pretty fast reader, and I can luckily digest it when I read things, and it kind of sticks with me, which is good.
Okay, promise me both of you are going to stay here forever, okay? So, studying for the bar. How did that go?
I mean, you got to be honest. It was terrible. Nothing anyone says prepares you for it. I don't think you realize until you're in it.
One of the things that struck me the most, which nobody really warned, I think, either of us about, was how lonely it was, the experience.
Oh, yes.
And you're just sitting there for hours. And, the problem is everyone's studying, but you can't communicate because if I call her and I'm freaking out, I'm going to freak her out. I don't want to freak her out. But if I call her and I'm like, this essay went well, that might freak her out. Or vice versa.
I know. We were so you were so sweet. You would text me like, "Are you sure? Can we talk about this? Or is it okay to talk about this?"
I was like, we could set boundaries. Like that's fine. But I think that was the hardest part because you just felt so alone and you had no metric of how is this going? What are we doing? And our law school class was actually really good at being together and like helping each other out. So that was the first time we were really in the trenches by ourselves. Right. And I think, like, I had her, thank God, just every time we would talk and complain, this is so hard, and that helped. But you were alone for the most part for like 2 months.
Well, and no one around you really understands, who aren't in law school or studying. No. My boyfriend would be like, I know it's hard, but is it that? And I was like, you just don't understand. It's just, and anything would set me off a little bit.
Yeah.
There's no right answer to anything.
No.
You couldn't really say anything without me overanalyzing or overthinking or.
Yeah. It's, boy, you just hit it on the head. I didn't even think about that. After all these years, it was a very lonely experience because you're just in your head the whole time. And in the back of your mind is that competition against all those other people that are taking it. And man, it's a tough one. I remember that. So you guys, you ladies afterwards, studying for most of the exam about a week or two before.
It was the
taking
Saturday
it.
before.
Saturday before. Yeah. You get an announcement. Brooke, why don't you describe what happened?
Well, I actually had gone out to the movies. It was my kind of break, and I come out, and I had this email from the bar, and I'm like, oh God, like, why this can't be good.
Yeah, like stop emailing us.
Or did you text me actually?
I did. I called her like incessantly. I was like, Brooke, what's going on?
And I made my mom and my boyfriend stop the car, and I was like, I need to read this. And apparently I couldn't read if we were still driving. And I was like, no, stop. You don't understand. They're like, what's going on? What's going on? I was like, I can't even talk about it with you. You don't understand. And I think I called you right away. And my mom and Anton, my boyfriend, were trying to understand what I had been saying. And they're like, you got the answers? I'm like, no, not the answers, the prompts. They're like, oh, you got the questions? Like,
no, the topics.
I'm like, I need to talk to Mane. You guys aren't understanding what I am saying at all.
What happened was that the California bar asks certain schools to come and see how they grade the essay portion of the California exam. So the California exam is broken down between 5 essay topics, one practice topic, and then a MBE multiple choice. And they bring schools every summer to kind of see how they're grading the essays. And so they sent an email to, I believe, 16 law schools saying, come and see on this date how we grade the topics. These are the topics that we have asked. And that email was supposed to be sent out like a week after they administered the test, but someone had sent out that email earlier. And so one of the deans at the law schools noticed it and said, well, maybe we shouldn't be getting this email. So what happened was, to make sure nobody had the answers for a week, I think, beforehand, they just let it out to everybody. I got it and I jumped up from my seat and I went, no. And I was shaking. I was like, this has to be a joke. This is a sick joke. And then
we talked. We were like,
and we were
is
like,
this true?
this is a prank. This can't be real. Like, what do you mean? A leak? Like, how can that happen? And we went on their Twitter, and that was not comforting at
No.
all. And I remember calling her, and I was like, do you think this is a prank? Or should we study? Should we not? So what happened was, to make sure nobody had the answers for a week, I think, beforehand, they just let it out to everybody the Saturday at 9 p.m. before the Tuesday exam.
Oh my God! Well, that wouldn't really make much of a difference.
It
right?
did.
It did. Okay,
A
so
little bit.
explain
I
why.
don't know. I don't know.
Well, so one of the, for the most part, it didn't make a difference. But there was one question they said it's going to be constitutional law with remedies. And all of us were saying, what's that? And then
How does that go together?
we all got
It never
together.
had.
You put my peanut butter with your chocolate or whatever. I mean, it just. So explain how you could have a common law and a remedy.
So common law and remedy, there's a few ways you could have a standing issue, like if somebody's asking they need to remedy something and they need standing, or you could ask for a TRO, which then will later be a preliminary
go.
injunction.
Okay.
So a temporary injunction, a preliminary or a permanent injunction. And that was the question, and we all kind of had an idea that
We pieced it together a
we
little
pieced
bit.
it together that it might be those two, and they hadn't asked that question in years.
Oh my God!
So
Thank God I didn't ask it when I was taking the bar.
Well, and so Mane came over, I think, on the Sunday, and we were just trying to like go through everything for the questions. We had my whiteboard out,
color coding,
color coding everything. But I think we were so burnt out by that point. I don't know how much of a difference having the topics made, because we were just so tired.
To be honest, like, it did ease a little bit of anxiety knowing what you're going to get. And I remember thinking, okay, civil procedures on there, they don't tell you if it's federal or California. And I opened, and Civ Pro was 7 subsets, which they haven't done ever.
That was insane.
And I just saw, like, the whole page was written down, and I went, oh my God, what is this? Like, what happened with this exam? It was just everything that they told us they will not ask you, they did, which was a fun surprise.
Well, and it was like they were asking the questions about the little footnotes in our outlines instead of the big questions that we had been studying for. It was all the little.
We had a pact. We agreed that it was okay to discuss, like, our feelings of the exam after the exam. And so
Is this the first time, by the way,
That we're
discussing your feelings about the exam?
No. It's been like all summer. And I said, hey, did you feel like they were asking the very minute points of the law that, like, nobody knows? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, it's not just me.
And how crazy that is. How do you think that the results are going to be now that they had this misstep? Because I felt like, man, they're thinking about lawsuits at this point.
Well, that's, everyone kind of hears that the answers got leaked, which isn't true, but they hear it and they're like, oh, you must have had a much easier time.
An easier.
But
well, let me give you a hypothetical. Let's assume that SC Dean, and I know this didn't happen, got the information and went, let me just see, put this piece of paper, in the library and see, give their students a little leg up. The possibility of that happening is what some of the people that might not have passed might go, wow, I got a lawsuit here or something.
We definitely have thought about that. I mean, we spent probably a little too much time just
angsting.
The mental anguish of what might have really happened, what did happen, what this is going to mean for grading, because we still don't know.
We still don't know. They haven't said it. They said it shouldn't change the scale, which, in all honesty, I don't really believe. I think the problem that a lot of students have is that the California bar doesn't release how they grade things. Yeah. So you get samples that are really good essays, and sometimes you read them and you're like, oh, they got the law wrong. I don't know about this one. Or, you're like, well, this isn't as organized. I don't know what to go. So you don't really know, which means your bar prep company also doesn't really understand it. They're doing the best of their jobs, but there were times that I was like, I really don't understand how this test is being administered and curved. And I think that transparency will ease a lot of anxiety.
Well, let me tell you this, though. I think, this is just speculation, of course, but I think they're going to be so worried about lawsuits that there's going to be a big happy face on a lot of these.
Every single
Guess
one.
what? We've got a 98% passage rate.
Perfect.
So, anyways, after this crazy exam, you both took some pretty cool vacations.
Yes. I know, and we never overlapped, actually, even though we were in some of the same places. Yeah. So I actually left the day after the bar. It was a red eye, so I had all day to pack. But
the day after the bar?
Yes, because I wasn't when I tend to plan trips very early so I can look forward to them. And so I didn't know when the bar was going to be. They hadn't released the date. So I thought it might be a week earlier than it was. So I thought I would have a week, but no, I was incorrect about that one. And so I did leave the day right after the bar. I was exhausted. It was a red eye. I don't know how I was walking.
Where did you go?
So I started in Athens. My mom and her mom, when my mom graduated college, went to Athens, and my mom always wanted to do that with me, but I got a job after I graduated college. So there's never time. And so she was like, we're doing it. We're going to do it after the bar. We stayed in the same hotel that she and my mom stayed, or she and my grandma stayed
How
in.
cool.
It was really great. So we went to Athens. Then we went to Crete, this little beach called Stavros. It's actually where they filmed Zorbo, the Greek, or I forget what it's. It was my mom knew it, but I did not. And it was just excellent. I think that was my favorite place we went. And then we went to Rome, the Amalfi Coast, and then I went so many places, and then France, Berlin, and the UK.
Holy cow.
But those
Wow.
last 3 were for my boyfriend's work, so it's just kind of jam-packed into a week.
How
but
long were you gone altogether?
About 26 days.
Ooh, that's nice.
I've never traveled that long. It was quite an experience.
Did you come back even remembering that you had taken the bar?
No, I forgot all about it, and then I came home and started
Just
thinking
hit
about
you.
it.
I was a little bit worried about both of you because you ladies took long vacations. I thought, are they going to remember that this is a business over here?
Are they going to come back?
Yeah. So what about your vacation?
So I took a month off. I went to Denmark, I went to France, and I went to Switzerland. So I kind of split my trip into those 3 places. And I drove in Switzerland. I drove from Switzerland to France.
That's incredible to me. Boy,
Yeah.
and you weren't worried about the differences in the way that
They-
we drive?
No, it was actually really similar. The only thing is they have a lot of roundabouts. And for that, you just have to know who has the right of way. And I mean, they told me the rules. And so I was driving really cautiously. And the roundabouts were really scary at first, but then I understood the GPS would be exit 2. And I was like, what does that mean? And then after a while, I was like, oh, I get it. I understand.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool.
So-
Well, I guess the final question I'm going to ask you about this very important topic is, how do you feel now?
It's still a little rocky. I was telling Mane I still have kind of nightmares. I'll wake up did I submit my exam? When I was
Yeah.
actually
Oh my
in
God.
Positano, I woke up sweaty, and I'm like, give me my computer now. I never submitted the bar exam, and I need to check that I did. And thankfully I had, because it was past the deadline to submit, but I'm still having those little panics every now and then.
It's like that transition. I'm realizing I'm not in school anymore, and I will never be. So sometimes I'm like, I didn't register for classes, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't need to, and then I realize, oh, I just took the bar. Oh my God. So it's
Yeah, I
it's
think
a
we talked
rocky
about
road.
this recently. You will never, ever stop having that nightmare. Okay? The old guy over here still wakes up in sweats, man, thinking about, okay, I took the bar exam, I passed it, but nobody knows that I didn't fulfill all my units at the
Credits.
school, and I've got to go back and stuff. It is crazy. If you talk to every attorney in this firm, they'll tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the obsessive compulsive stuff, right? It makes you a great attorney. So what do you do about stress?
I have been working out a lot. I'm in a dance class. which
Cool.
It's very funny. I'm not really a dancer, but my mom recommended I needed to kind of dance out some of the stress, and that's actually been pretty helpful.
You know Debbie, who you work closely
Yes.
with. She started dancing in law school and danced all the way, when she was taking the exam and up until recently. Last night I heard that she's going to stop for a little while and stuff like that. But I think that is fantastic.
It's really fun, and
Yeah.
it's a dark room, thankfully, so I don't think anyone is watching me, and so I'm a little free.
And what do you do? You probably read encyclopedias or something,
Yeah.
right?
No, I'm not that boring. I also try to work out. I'm into comedy, so I go to a lot of stand-up shows. I watch a lot of comedians. I just saw Tom Segura.
Oh, cool.
So I'm obsessed with him now. But yeah, and then just trying to, and I bake a lot too.
Yeah,
so
I
baking,
cook a lot,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we cook and bake a lot, and we send each other our
Oh,
our
my
stuff.
goodness.
So
Now I tell you got to stay here, man. We love that. Okay, so let me talk to you about a more serious matter, okay? And this is going to be things people say when you get divorced that really should say when you get engaged. So we're gonna take a look at this and see how
Thank you.
good of students you are here, okay?
I don't know.
I should say this for our viewers. I'm giving this is an article that I found. It's called, I guess the publisher is McSweeney's, celebrating our
Oh,
21st year
yes.
of publishing. So you know about them. Who are they?
They're just I think a satire comedy website.
Okay.
I've read a couple of their things. They're they're pretty funny. I
Okay.
recommend.
So things people say when you get divorced, they really should say when you get engaged. Why would you say that if you're engaged? Somebody's getting engaged. Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, come on.
Start of everything.
Look at what we do. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. I like the second one. Couldn't you just have an affair instead? So,
Cheaper to keep her.
so yeah, okay, yeah, but man, as the years pile on, that gets more and more expensive. But you seem so happy.
I know, why change it up?
Yeah, that one's a sad one to say.
But yeah, it is. But wouldn't you? How about when you get engaged?
But you seem so. Oh, like they think that getting engaged is a terrible thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. Why do you have to get engaged?
The fourth one is want to get drunk. So what? So. What stage of grief are you in?
Ooh. I like the one that says, "Did you guys try therapy?"
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think people always say that, don't they? I mean, that's
Yeah.
if you had a friend that was thinking about a divorce, you'd always want to know if there was counseling and stuff.
Right.
So
Cover all your bases.
yeah. Oh, you should get on Tinder. Oh my God.
No.
So,
I like
anyways.
that. Yeah, I don't get it.
So to our audience, you could find this list that is very helpful, and I would say that our two senior law clerks passed with flying colors. They had great answers, and if they could answer these questions, I'm sure they answered all the bar exam questions correctly. But ladies, I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having
It
us.
was really entertaining and fun, and we're going to be following you. We're gonna have this same podcast right after the bar results because I know that both of you are going to pass. I just completely know that.
Wow.
Well, we appreciate
Yeah,
that.
we appreciate
the
that.
good wishes.
Good luck, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank
Thank you for joining us on Exhibit A.